So to give you a little backstory on this, my wife in February of 2024, um, she wasn't feeling well, thought she had the flu, tested for negative for COVID, went to the doctor. They said, oh, you probably just have the flu, just give it a couple days. Um, and then that weekend she was having trouble breathing. And so we took her to the ER, where they said that she was going through sepsis, where her kidneys and her liver were shutting down, and things were looking very grim. My wife is 48 years old, healthy, eats healthy, looks great, like never really gets sick, that kind of person. And so we spent a week in the ICU. Then we spent a week, and they were running tests, and a week in the regular hospital. And finally, after 2 weeks, she was able to come home. We thought, okay, it was just kind of this weird thing and whatever it is, and then that's it. And she'll get healthier and then we'll move on. Well, a couple of days after we got back from the hospital, we got a phone call from the blood doctor, saying that she has cancer. It's something called multiple myeloma. It's a blood cancer. It affects the part of the bone marrow. You can look it up. So, of course, the first thing I do is I created a GPT called Myeloma Guide, and you can look that up online or on ChatGPT store if you'd like. And, just trying to figure out what this is. Now, luckily, it's not something that spreads to other organs, and that it's relatively, like, there's more modern treatments and more modern drugs. And Colin Powell had gotten COVID, but the reason why he died from COVID was because he had multiple myeloma. So and then the treatments are good, and basically you get treatments, you don't lose your hair, but then you have to have a stem cell transplant to really put it into deep remission. So we're like, okay, so we live in Maryland, and so the doctor recommended somebody from the University of Maryland Medical Center, but we also have near Baltimore is Johns Hopkins, which is one of the great hospitals in the world. And so we wanted to maybe have somebody from Johns Hopkins. So I put a message out on Facebook to friends and said, hey, can you kind of give me names of ideas of people that you want or that you've worked with or that have done stem cell transplant? Like, what are your thoughts of the hospitals? Anything you can come up with. And it was interesting because our blood doctor gave us the name of somebody at University of Maryland, we'll just call it UMMC. And we heard from two different people that bad bedside manners, God complex, don't use that guy. So we're like, okay. So we got a name, and this is the Dr. Aaron Rapaport from UMMC. But we never got any names from Johns Hopkins. And I was like, well, I want to compare something to Johns Hopkins. Like, what can I do? So I was like, well, let's go back to the myeloma guide, ChatGPT, and ask it. And this is exactly what I did. And so we found through doing this kind of using AI, we're able to find the doctor that we wanted to. And I have a really God wink, interesting story at the end as I explain this to you. So this is what I put in. And I even spelled that name wrong. I mean, that's the amazing thing about AI. So I said, Dr. Aaron Rapaport, UMMC, what can you tell me about him? So it says medical professional affiliated with the University of Maryland Medical Center, specializes in hematology and oncology, with a particular focus on bone marrow transplant and treatment of hematologic malignancies such as multiple myeloma and leukemia. Significantly to research, the good things about him across the board. Experienced physician, researcher, well regarded for his expertise, et cetera, et cetera. Advanced cancer treatment. Cool. Okay, so this was a name that we had gotten that's part of University UMMC, but I wanted names from Johns Hopkins. And I'm not going to do a Google search because Google search is crap right now. So I said, can you tell me about doctors at Johns Hopkins we would use for the stem cell transplant? And look, again, I'm spelling stuff wrong. I'm just going blah, 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 and doing it. Johns Hopkins is renowned for its expertise in stem cell transplantation and treating conditions like multiple myeloma. Here's a few specialists. So I took their name and then I would Google them and I would say, okay, like here's a guy. I'll go into Google and like see here. Oh, look at this. And so this was the first guy that came up. World-renowned myeloma expert, but now he's moved to Tampa General Hospital. Remember, the ChatGPT data is like 2023. So things have changed But so this guy wasn't part of it anymore. So I looked up him, and then I was like, okay, what about Richard Jones? I look up Richard Jones, Johns Hopkins, scheduled appointment. Also at University Medical Center, looked at him, kind of had some reviews right here. And I was like, oh, okay. And then there was this Dr. Carol Ann Huff. So I looked her up. Same thing, Google search, look her up. And I was like, whoa, look at this. 5-star ratings, 196 votes. So I click on the name. And I get this whole thing about medical oncology, like her background, all this kind of stuff, expertise, and all these reviews, 5 stars, everybody saying like outstanding, the greatest. And I'm like, cool. I think we have our doctor, which could be. But I wanted to let ChatGPT kind of help me formalize which one might be better. So I said, again, I spell all of this wrong because I said, based on this data, which doctor would you pick? Carol Ann Huff. I copied this page, pasted it into ChatGPT with all the other things, email, etc. And then I took the other doctor, Dr. Rapaport, pasted his stuff into ChatGPT, and then this is what it came out with. Choosing the right doctor for a stem cell transplant, especially managing multiple myeloma, hinges on several factors, including the doctor's expertise. It said, based on the detailed information you provided about Dr. Carol Ann Huff and Dr. Aaron P. Rapaport, here's a comparison to help decide which might be more suitable. So Carol Ann Huff, expertise and focus. Dr. Huff has a strong focus on multiple myeloma and whatever. Significant involvement in the development of biological-based treatments, research and innovation. She's actively involved in the research that led to the development of the flow cytometric-based blood analysis for tracking myeloma cancer cells, which is critical for predicting and managing recurrence. Well, that's a win, because part of my fear and what we've heard is that people will get stem cell transplants and then they'll have a recurrence. It could be a year later. Some people are 5 years later, and then they have to go through the process again, another stem cell transplant, and then hope that it just kind of doesn't come back. And there's a lot of new drugs. It's a lot more advanced than it was 10 years ago. 15 years ago, it was a death sentence, but modern medicine, and hopefully the use of AI in clinical trials and drug discoveries and all this other stuff will make things a lot better. And then it also says clinical trials. Dr. Huff is a principal investigator, numerous clinical trials. So she's active, doing her thing, heavily involved in the thing. Dr. Aaron P. Rapaport also, expertise also spans malignancies, emphasis on adaptive T-cell therapy, vaccine development for post-agulosis stem cell transplant, pioneered stuff, clinical trials, same thing. Both doctors are good. But then it says, then came down to the recommendation. And this was what's so great about what ChatGPT did. It says, if your primary concern is innovative treatment strategies that directly target multiple myeloma and its recurrence, particularly through the lens of stem cell behavior and targeted therapies, Dr. Carol Ann Huff would be an excellent choice given her specialized focus on multiple myeloma, ongoing research in cancer stem cells, and her leadership in clinical trials. If your interest leans towards the broader application of immunotherapy and the enhance of the immune system recovery following transplantation, which could be critical in cases where broader immunological factors play a significant role, then Dr. Aaron P. Rapaport is also a good one too. That kind of, for me and who I am and what we are looking for, then we went with Dr. Carol Ann Huff, because that's kind of what innovative treatments, I want somebody trying new, both of them are great. And, it was just kind of, and she had the reviews. So ChatGPT helped me take all this information from friends and family on Facebook, then gave it some missing information, and I was able to just push it all together and at the end kind of get an answer, and then feel really comfortable and excited about who is going to do my wife's stem cell transplant. So now here's the kicker, funny God wink thing at the end. So as we're going through this process, we say, all right, Dr. Carol Ann Huff is the person. My wife has been talking through friends. We're just trying to get information, and through a friend who has multiple myeloma, and they were texting back and forth, and she said, hey, maybe you want to be part of my multiple myeloma group. It's really good to be in there and talk to other people and blah, 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 blah. The two were going through it. And she said, oh, that's great. Yeah, send me the information. She's like, oh, by the way, like, who is doing your stem cell transplant? She said, well, Dr. Carol Ann Huff. And then the next response was, well, that's crazy. Dr. Carol Ann Huff is speaking to the group, the multiple myeloma support group, in June. And our appointment is in July. So, God wink, whatever you want to call it. I'm a Christian guy. I believe God was looking out. But I also think ChatGPT, we wouldn't have gotten to that point without ChatGPT and using the technology. It's not just about, you know, you have to start to think outside the box of how you do things in everyday life and your work, using AI as a tool to help you. When you're stuck, AI could be the thing that unsticks you, whether you're trying to have a difficult conversation, or doing research online. Yeah, you could do Google searches and pull all that stuff together, but now you can pull it all get together in AI rather than sifting through Google. You can pull it into AI and get yourself an answer. So let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe. Always leave a comment if there's other kind of how-to videos. But this is a very personal one for me, as my wife has the multiple myeloma. But I really wanted to explain to you how we kind of came to this conclusion and how we used AI to help her treatment. Not only do I have the multiple myeloma guide that I always ask questions, and when data comes in and reports come in and her blood work comes in, I copy and paste in there and ask it to AI to do analysis on it to kind of give me an idea of what I'm dealing with, or when they say things like it always keeps you up. It just makes you a lot smarter what's going on with your life. And you can dumb it down as much as you want. You can ask ChatGPT, hey, I don't understand what you mean. Explain it again. Rather than have to do that to a doctor. Sometimes doctors have accents. Sometimes they're busy. Sometimes they don't have time for you. So AI is a great tool, and here's just one of the many ways you can use AI. Give us a like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.